Good day, everyone. This is your English 10. But before we start, let us pray. Okay, so now, please arrange your chairs properly. Then pick up the pieces of paper under your chairs. So let me introduce myself first. So I am your teacher, Jessica, for today. But before we will start our discussion, what was your last previous topic? Alright, so now our lesson for today is about a short story. But before we dive in, let me introduce to you our objectives. So the students are able to first extract significant information from a short story with cultural themes. Second is to analyze how cultural influence the plot, characters, and themes of the story. And last is to appreciate the importance of understanding and respecting difficulties cultures. For your activity today, the short story is entitled The Wedding Dance. And I will divide you into 3 to 4 members each group. But before that, I will ask you, what do you know about the Igorot people in the Philippines? That's great. Each group will brainstorm and list down their knowledge about what they know of the Igorot cultures, traditions, and their way of life. After that, I will pick someone to represent their knowledge about the Igorot cultures, traditions, and their way of life.
Here's some brief overview of Igorot culture. The Igorot are not a single homogeneous group but a collection of several distinct indigenous communities inhabiting the mountainous regions of northern Luzon in the Philippines. Understanding their culture requires acknowledging this diversity, as traditions and practices vary significantly between groups. Common threads, however, include a deep connection to the land, sophisticated agricultural practices, and rich oral traditions. So here's the example of their clothes and their cultural dance.
So for our discussion for today, let us read about the short story which is entitled The Wedding Dance. So now that we're done reading the short story, let me introduce to you who is the characters, what is the theme, and the lesson. So for the characters, we have Lumnay, Awiyaw, and Madulimay. For the theme, our theme is to sacrifice, love, and tradition. And for our lesson of the story is the tradition versus personal desire.
So here's the characters. First, Awiyaw is the protagonist who is forced by tribal customs to marry a second wife. Next, Madulimay is Awiyaw's new wife with whom he hopes to have a son. Next, Lumnay is Awiyaw's former wife who still loves him but is left behind due to inability to have children. Next is the theme. We have the sacrifice, love, and tradition. For sacrifice, Awiyaw sacrifices deep love for Lumnay to fulfill the tradition. And for the love, the narrative poignantly depicts the pain of loving someone while being forced to part due to societal pressures and enduring love that remains even in separation. Last is tradition, the societal expectations for women to bear children and the implications for their standing within the community. So for the lesson, we have the tradition versus personal desires. The tension between what individuals want and what their culture dictates, as seen in Awiyaw's and Lumnay's struggle with the tradition of needing a male heir.
So now that I am done introducing to you what are the themes, lessons, and who is the characters in the story, let me ask you this. What is the main conflict in the story between traditions and the personal desires? And then what are the significant cultural elements in the story? What are the key themes of the story? That's great. All of your answers are correct. So now, I'll ask you this kind of questions if you really understand the lesson. How does the story reflect Igorot values? What was the most challenging part of analyzing cultural influence in the story? For your another activity, each of you will complete a pyramid for the wedding dance, focusing on their cultural elements. And after that, you will write a concise summary of your highlighting cultural elements. So for your assignment, research the specific aspects of Igorot cultures that is featured in the wedding dance. Then write a short paragraph summarizing your research and explain its significance in the context of the story. And that would be our discussion for today, and thank you for your participation.